You mentioned Andrew Tate. There's some sort of a character that he's portraying online. Would you argue that you know the real Andrew? And who is that?
I mean, you can't...
I feel like you're holding something in and I want you to just let it out.
If anyone fucks me over, it's my fault. Because I didn't see it coming.
That's the crazy thing to think about, is like, in the grand scheme of things, how minuscule everything is. Like, why does it really matter? But then why do we all do it? Why do we all strive to achieve these great things?
You do, I do, your listeners do. But a lot of people are quite happy just to be normal and average. And I get the argument. In 500 years, you won't be remembered, so let's just be normal and average and chill. I get that argument. That's just not how I'm wired.
But the money can't cure the rest of the stuff.
Well, it can.
I beg to differ. If you had bad relationships with your wife, with your kids, you're unhealthy.
So yeah, he was growling at me, he was ignoring me, he was talking over me, he stunk of weed.
Did he?
Yeah, all sorts. Yeah, it was bonkers. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. You feel like you've got good value in that thing that you bought, and I feel like I made fair profit and it was worth my time to create it and sell it to you. So that's what I'm looking for.
Is it just for the money though? Yo, people, just a quick one before we dive back in. If you haven't already, please go and follow me and H on socials. They're the first 2 links in the description. We are documenting everything behind the scenes of the podcast, building our businesses, all of the wins, all of the losses, and everything in between. So if you wanted to see a little bit more BTS and join mine and H's journey to grow in everything that we've got going on, please go and hit the first 2 links in the description and drop us a follow and enjoy the rest of the episode. Peace.
But yeah, we didn't have much friction to get it done. The hardest thing was just tying up the location, because obviously with how he is, it's like, that was before he got arrested. We were like, I think, the second to last show before he got arrested.
Yeah.
One in Dubai and one in Romania, right?
Yeah.
Well, listen, if you can pull any strings for us.
We haven't even fucked and you're going for my best friend. It's like, come on.
Rob, my man.
How you doing?
I'm good, thank you, brother. How are you?
Welcome to the studio.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm good.
Thank you for having us.
I've got your brand on and everything.
I wanted to kick off this podcast by asking you, obviously you were £50,000 in debt. I want to know, what were the darkest thoughts that you had during that time that ignited the spark in you, that kickstarted the success that you have now?
Yeah, so the darkest thoughts for me when I was 50 grand in debt was not really about the money. It was about how I was failing my dad.
Wow.
I felt like if I was honest, looking in the mirror, he'd paid for me to go to private school, and that wasn't easy for him. And I know at the end of each quarter when he had to pay the VAT, he always struggled for the money. And I find all these things out 30 years later because your parents protect you. But, Mum was like, oh, he'd always go down the bursar's office at school. And I thought he was just checking on me. And he's like hustling with the bursar to get a payment plan on the school fees. And then, he was working really hard. He funded my university. I mean, I went back weekends and worked, but, he part funded that. He part funded my first house. He part funded my first car. And I'm, nearly 27. Yeah, 26. 50 grand in debt, which back then is like what 100 grand is now. And I felt a lot of shame. I remember back then as well, I had a girlfriend and she had to pay for every dinner we had. Every time we went out, she had to pay. We went on this like sort of little romantic weekend to Romania. She had to pay.
What was that like?
I hated it. It was ultimate shame. But I didn't really know how to deal with all the emotions. My dad never shared any emotion. I saw my dad cry once. That was when his Alsatian guard dog died. That was the only time I ever saw my dad cry. And but I didn't know how to deal with it. And so I was the guy that was like, oh, that's that rich twat. Or, they were just born with money. Or I remember there was only one guy that we all knew that had a Ferrari in Peterborough back 20 odd years ago. It was a 430 Spider, which actually turned out was the first Ferrari I bought. And I remember I was in a bar with a few of my mates and I just spat out, he's a drug dealer. I didn't even know he was a drug dealer. I didn't even know who the guy was. But I didn't know how to deal with all this emotion that, I felt life was unfair. I felt that I wasn't given a chance. I felt like other people got given the money. And I felt all this shame. And I hated it. And for me as well, because I was the fattest kid in my year, 2 or 3 years in a row. And when you're just getting into girls, sort of 13, 14, 15.
Doesn't help, does it?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't fucking help. I mean, it got me good at the conversation because I had to be good with getting like friends with them
to
all.
make up for it, right?
So I was good at getting in there as the friend, but I was that guy. I couldn't get any further because I was like, I know some of the girls were like, oh, we do really like Rob. He's just too fat. and then so like I've got this double shame experience where I feel shame that I'm letting my dad down, and then shame being the fat kid. And I didn't know how to deal with it. Now people like Andrew Tate are talking about shame and how it's good and how you can use it as a motivator, and how that gets you down the gym and how that recovers you from a failed relationship and going busting a relationship, busting a business, and you start again. But I didn't know what to do with any of it. And then on December the 15th, 2005, when I was in my most amount of debt, my dad just had this massive nervous breakdown in his pub in front of everyone. And a week later, I'd met my business partner. A month later, I'd blagged a job in a business he was working in. 3 months later, I'd borrowed my first deposit for my first buy-to-let investment. 9 months later, I had 20 with my business partner. I'd earned nearly 100 grand and cleared the debt. So I turned everything around within pretty much a year.
What was that feeling like? Being in the place that you were in such a short period of time, because in the grand scheme of things, it is a short period of time, kind of being out of the shit, out of the rut, and kind of now progressing. What was that feeling like?
So do you want the honest answer?
Of course I want the honest answer.
It's incomplete. Like,
still more.
Yeah. I don't ever sit down and go, yeah, fucking hell, I'm winning at life. There's always more to do.
Will that ever go?
Yeah, I was just going to ask, what is winning in life to you then?
You don't want to know what's going through my head.
I do.
Okay. Look, my personal vision is to help as many people on this planet get better financial knowledge. So I suppose winning at life is 2 billion people who are better off financially, or 3 billion people, because of the lessons I've taught them. And then, my net worth reflecting that. I mean, I already have enough money to retire for life. I've retired 3 or 4 times and unretired real quick. I could already retire my kids, my grandkids with the portfolio of properties that I've built. So, when I got to 10 million net worth, I realized that's enough. But that didn't make me want to stop. So no, I didn't get to the end of that year and look back and go, yeah, I've fucking done this. I'm out of debt and I've almost earned 100 grand as a 26-year-old. I also bought outright a Nissan 350Z, which back then was a good car. It was my first really good car. But no, I never looked back and gone, yeah, I've fucking made it as a 27-year-old. I'm like, I want to be a millionaire by 30. So then I became a millionaire just after 30. And I'm like, fucking didn't make 30. And now I have to say by 31. This really pisses me off. So then I'm like, I want to be a deca-millionaire by age 35. And I achieved that. And then you're like, okay, I've made 10 million, which is the new million. And that's enough now. Am I going to stop? Well, I tried to retire when I sort of had 50 odd properties. And I tried to retire before the 2008 crash, and then I tried to retire after I life leverage, and I realized I can't be still and be bored, so I got rid of that delusion. Okay, so I'm going to work for the rest of my life, so I've got to love my work. So sort of leaned into loving my work, and then you write your first big bestseller. So I wrote Life Leverage, and that became a big bestseller. And you're like, fucking hell, I'm #1 in all books. But then you're like, oh yeah, but now I'm not next week, and I want to get back there, and it just never stops. But the difference is now I enjoy that game. It's like playing snakes and ladders, but there is no square 100. There is just square infinity. And I like just keep rolling the dice and seeing how far we can go. I mean, we went down the biggest snake when we had lockdown. I mean, lockdown could have fucking ruined us. But now 5 years later, we're making really fucking good money. Business is really good. No, that's all right.
I want to know what happened in lockdown.
So what happened in lockdown was the government made it illegal for me to run my business. and they did it 3 times. And personally, I think it's a crime against humanity that they tried to lock us down for the 2nd and 3rd time, and they're going to get away with it. We had 105 staff at the time-ish, and most of them up there. And me, my MD and my business partner and my business partner's laptop all went into the kitchen, tiny little kitchen. We got a spreadsheet of everyone's name up, and we're like, right, we've got to let that person go, got to let that person go. Okay, I think we can keep that one. We'll try and keep that one, but we're probably going to have to offer them less salary. We've got to let that person go. We've got to let that whole team go. And that was something I never wanted to go through as a business owner. You hear the stories where you have to make mass redundancies or let people go. And my favorite part about the business is the people and the sharing of the together success that you create as a team. So we let 60 people go on that day.
So more than half of your team.
Yeah. And our overheads were $1 million a month, and we got them down to 350 a month. And actually in the first year, because we got our overheads down quick and we'd be prepared for something like this, we made pretty good profit. But the next 4 years, literally up until the second half of last year, were just fucking hard. Furlough came in, and all the staff that wanted to come back, we invited them back. So we were back to like 80 odd staff. And then we carried everyone. Like Mark and I had 6 months in a row taking no money. We were paying everyone and not us. Our trainers were getting paid millions of pounds. We were getting paid nothing. But we'd prepared for that.
Would you argue that that's part and parcel of being a leader?
Maybe.
Of course you want the money, but it's a case of, in the bigger picture, what is more important, the morale of the team and the business's long-term kind of trajectory? And those 6 months of you not taking any money and your business partner, would you be the business that you are now if you hadn't made that decision?
Well, I mean, the last quarter of last year and first quarter of this year, we have fucking smashed it. So thank you.
Vamos.
And I don't often say that. I just got the numbers for this month, and the numbers for this month were 35% more than I thought they would be, and they were looking good. But like, sent a message to my wife, said, look at that. She's like, well done you. I said, well done us. And I'm straight back to work, doing this.
What's next?
Yeah, exactly. What's next? So you could then argue I made the right decision, but no one comes to you offering to take a pay cut to help you through hard times when you're the business owner. But that's the price you pay, because now I'm getting good rewards. Yeah. So I probably did do the right thing. Yeah.
I think you did.
And we suffered. But Mark and I have been investing in assets for 20 years, and he and I could afford to take 6 months without getting paid by our main businesses, because we've got investments and properties and assets. And Ray Dalio says, if you want to be long-term rich, you have to be able to survive the winters. And if the stock market, it crashed a bit recently, and everyone's shit in the bed, and it's just like a tiny frost in a morning where the sun is rising. It's not a fucking winter like Game of Thrones winter is coming, but everyone's like acting like it is because there's a bit of frost. No, so we'd prepared for that shit. We'd not prepared for a lockdown because we'd never had one. But long-term rich means you need to prepare for the winter in the fucking summer. And we did. So you could argue we did the right thing. But at the same time, I probably let some of my team earn too much money for too long. Because the problem when you've been paying someone a lot of money for a long time, when it's hard for you and it's easier for them, is when you go to them and say, oh, wait a minute, things need to change. They don't want change, and they can act like a bit of a diva. So we did have to make some changes, and we had to lose a few people because of that. But yeah, here we are, and like, fucking hell, I know so much more about business now because of lockdown. So I'm very grateful for that experience.
You mentioned how you've gamified business, etc., with the snakes and ladders analogy. How can somebody listening at home learn to gamify business? Because I feel like a lot of the entrepreneurs that are first getting started, I can probably speak from personal experience as well, struggling to understand how you play it like a game, not like you're trying to run a business.
Well, I think that everything in life comes down to context. So if you had a child age 6 who got blown up in a building in Ukraine, you wouldn't be sweating over a fucking few invoices in your business. It would have a lot of context. And what I think we do is we look at all of our little problems and we fucking obsess over them, and we don't realize that they're not really that important. Like, no one's going to give a fuck when I'm 90 how much money I've made.
Facts.
What they're going to care about is
your legacy.
Yeah, the legacy. Did I play the game well? Was I a cool person to be with? Did I give more than I took? So I see business as the most fun game because I haven't got kids being blown up in Ukraine. My dad's really fucking ill at the moment, but every day I go and see him, I'm like, he's still here. He's not dead. So, number one, at least get in a game you like playing. So if you've been in a job for 30 years and you've hated it for 20, then fucking change the game you're in. Oh yeah, but this mortgage, kids, blah, blah, blah. Well, your kids will struggle with you for a year or two when finances are hard. If they get a father that they look up to that loves his life.
A superhero.
Yeah. Like, women are attracted to ambitious men, even if they're broke, as long as they've got ambition. Mm-hmm. It's when the ambition goes, that's when a lot of the women go. And you can be fucking ambitious and broke, or you can be ambitious and go from a job you've hated for most of your life into a new job. And if the person you're with won't support you on that, maybe they're the wrong person. So business is a game for me because I get to play it, because I love the game. And like, I have got I don't know if I've got the best life in the world. I've not lived anyone else's life, but I have got a really fucking good life. And that's, so my problems are fucking high quality problems. So, a couple of people trolled me online because I posted about someone reversing into my DBS, my Aston Martin. And, I couldn't claim on her insurance even though she reversed into me. And my premium on 8 cars goes up because she reversed into me. And someone's like, Rob, these are fucking first world rich problems. I'd like those problems, Rob. I actually thought, yeah, you're right. I'm fortunate to be able to moan about a Yaris that reversed into my Aston Martin DBS, and I'm fortunate to be able to pay the excess and not give a fuck. So context is everything.
Well, in the grand scheme of things, we're just a little speck of dust on a floating blue ball.
We are.
Is everything really? It doesn't matter.
In 500 years, which in the grand scheme of time, past, present, and future, is nothing. Nothing will be remembered. None of us will be remembered. So right now, I'm really happy and grateful to be in this room with you in this present moment. Maybe my phone is blowing up with problems, but like, me being distracted by that doesn't change this moment. This is the moment that I'm in. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy you've come here. I'm happy I'm on your show.
Thank you, bro. We appreciate that. We appreciate you having us as well.
And in 500 years...
No one's going to give a shit.
Even if you guys are billionaires, no one will remember.
It might still be on YouTube though.
Yeah, it might be. I was going to say, that's the crazy thing to think about, is like, in the grand scheme of things, how minuscule everything is. Like, why does it really matter? But then why do we all do it? Why do we all strive to achieve these great things?
You do, I do, your listeners do. But a lot of people are quite happy just to be normal and average. Valid. And I get the argument. In 500 years, you won't be remembered, so let's just be normal and average and chill. I get that argument. That's just not how I'm wired. Mm-hmm. And it's not how you guys are wired.
You can flip it, though. In 500 years, it's not going to matter, so why not make the most of the time that I'm here?
Well, there's 2 ways to look at it. Chill, because in 500 years, none of us are remembered, or get back to fucking work because we've only got 80 years left.
Yeah.
And that's just it's how you choose to play the game. For me, I'm in a rush because what am I, 46? I'd like to still be kicking ass when I'm 90. Charlie Munger passed away recently at 95, but he's still doing what he does. Warren Buffett's in his mid-90s. So maybe I've got 50 years or 40, I don't know, being in the game. So fucking hell, there's work to do. Let's get the fuck on with it.
You mentioned earlier, obviously, the amount of guilt that you had.
Shame. Yeah.
Sorry,
'Cause
yeah.
For me, shame is guilt exponential. Yeah. Guilt is I did something wrong. Shame is a core pain in your being of the things you did wrong.
Your incompetence, right?
Yeah, I suppose.
I feel like it's the opposite to what a man truly like is kind of built on, that pride, that respect.
Yeah, well, ironically, it's the shame that's the motivator to build it and create it. So I wanted to be respected by my friends, so I lost 3 stone in 8 weeks. So in the private schools I went to, the summer holidays were 8 weeks. And I'm a school ex in the last sort of junior year, the fattest kid pretty much in the school. Thing is, when you're the second fattest kid, it doesn't fucking matter because no one takes the piss out of the second fattest kid. It's always the fattest kid. And that was me. So I like the only thing I knew how to do was to leave the school and run away from the shame. And then I've got 8 weeks to transform myself to go to a new school, a new person. So for 8 weeks, I would eat nothing but a packet of fruit pastels for 3 days straight. And then I'd eat nothing but a chocolate feast ice lolly for 3 days straight. I mean, there was no education around food back then. I mean, he's eating fucking sourdough and smoked salmon and eggs and, barge of salt and all, but like...
We get one body, man. We've got to take care of it.
Yeah, I didn't know anything. All I knew... I used to drink Diet Coke thinking that Diet Coke makes you lose weight. Because remember, I was, 13 then? Sis was, 25, 35 years ago. So don't judge me. But here's what I did do. It wasn't good for my muscle development, but fucking hell, it was brilliant for losing fat. And I left that school, a fat kid, and I joined this school. And not bad, pretty good looking. Who's this guy? And girls were like, who's this guy? And I'm like, who's this guy? And I'd not experienced it before. And the first girlfriend I got, but I don't know if you did this back at school, but back at school, all the lads were like, who's the top 3? The top 3 hottest girls. And always in the top 3 was the girl that I got. I thought she was number 1. I'm like, fucking hell. This feels amazing. But still, even though I'd shed all the weight, driven by the shame, it was the shame. Because, people could have gone, oh, Rob, you're just big boned. Or, oh, Rob, don't worry, you're a nice person. That's not what made me lose 3 stone in 8 weeks. What made me lose 3 stone in 8 weeks is
Rob,
you're a fat cunt. That's what made me lose it. And the shit they would say. But the funny thing is, you shed the weight, you get the girl, but all the pain is still there because that doesn't go away. So the shame still exists in me. And you could say something like how my headmaster said or how a bully said to me back then, and I would instantly feel that shame. The difference is, from sort of age 18 to 26, I didn't know what to do with that shame. 27 onwards, that shame it's like kryptonite for Superman. It's the superpower and the thing that can kill you. And that's how I see shame now. It's such a motivator. And that's why I think part of Andrew's message is really like, obviously Andrew Tate, a lot of people don't really get his message or don't like it, but that part about using shame as a motivator is a good message for young men who are lost.
Do you feel like you still look back on those times when you were at school and that's what drives you to achieve the things that you've achieved today?
Yeah. So, I was going to maybe I will show you this message, but I get messages fairly frequently from people who went to my school.
What's that like?
Well, I don't enjoy it for long. I won't read it because it's a long message. But a girl who went to my school who was friends with the first girlfriend I told you I got, she's like, fucking hell, look at you. My husband follows you. He thinks you're fucking great. I told him we went to school together, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it feels good for 10 seconds and then it's back to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can't remember what the question was, but
I
that's the answer.
So, the shame that you felt back when you were at school, do you feel like that is the main motivator for why you're striving so hard to achieve these things in life?
It is kryptonite.
It's a motivator. Like I think it can be damaging to only have shame as a motivator, to constantly have to go to the darkest, painful moments in your past and your present to just fucking get yourself down the gym or get a good day's work done. I think that, like, you know, if you're always triggered and always on the edge and always on cortisol and always stress and adrenaline, you know, I think health-wise, we know now that's not good for your body. So I don't think you always want to lean on it. I mean, it's going to come out. So, like, when the beast comes out, I let the fucking thing come out. And I just, like, I've learned to sit in pain a lot more as opposed to run away from it. But there's other motivators. So having a really strong, compelling vision, getting really good at something and knowing what you're really good at, having other goals and targets, like a car collection or a goal to sell your business for certain amounts of money or to get a best-selling published book. All of these things are tools. Like shame is a tool to motivate you.
You mentioned Andrew Tate. What is your relationship like with him? You spoke about his message, and around the time where he started to gain traction and he was everywhere, because he was everywhere, was also around the time where we started our business journey, where we started our podcast, and he was a big motivator for us. He ignited the flame inside of us that created who we are today. He's top G in my eyes. He is. He is.
Yeah, I'm like top B or C. Maybe E.
But would you argue that obviously there's some sort of a character that he's portraying online? Would you argue that you know the real Andrew, and who is that?
I'm not his brother or his best friend of 20 years, so I won't pretend to be that. But I do know him well, and probably better than most people who comment on him. My experiences with him personally have been very good, fast, polite, respectful. Yeah. So, I mean, you know, you can't.
I feel like you're holding something in, and I want you to just let it out.
Look at you. Well, I get asked this question a lot. I got asked it today on a previous episode, podcast I was on. And, you know, a lot of people want to know what he's like behind the scenes. I mean, he's not as ranty, because how can you be? And, like, I don't think he's putting on a show. I just think he knows what to say and how to say it to get attention. Do I think he necessarily fully believes everything he says? I don't know. But, like, he is one of the greatest marketers of our generation.
Valid.
And people don't really acknowledge that. By the way, there isn't anything I'm holding back. I like to
think.
Yeah, people think when I'm thinking, like my staff, if I'm in board meetings and then I don't say anything, they think something's wrong or they talk over me. And I'm just like, no, I want to be accurate.
Sorry for interrupting
No, you don't.
your thought process.
No, you don't have to be sorry. And you know, if you think there's more you need to get out of me or I'm holding something back, you're only doing your job. So you should do that. I was just actually trying to think, how much different is he? You know, when I'm at his house or whatever. Yeah, I mean, he's just a bit more normal, I suppose. Yeah, but he's probably a bit more polite.
Yeah.
You know, because obviously he's quite wild, but like I don't think he's really any different. Like you're interviewing me here and we chatted there, and I'm probably not quite the same chatting there as we are here, probably maybe a bit more animated or whatever, but I'm still the same guy.
Yeah.
I don't think he's pretending. And like some of the things he says, which I'm like, fuck me, that's wild. I think he believes it. Like he said today on a post, never trust a woman. Like I think he believes that. So you could say that's congruent. I mean, I wouldn't say that because I trust my mum.
Yeah.
And I think he'd probably trust his mum. So, you know, we could go into the nuance. There's some women I'd trust, there's some women I wouldn't. There's some men I'd trust and some men I wouldn't. But do I think he believes that? I think he does. Yeah, I think he does. And like, you know, I've been fucked over, but I imagine Andrew Tate's been fucked over a lot more times than I have. And I imagine, there's people out to get me, but most of my experiences in public are good. But I imagine there's more people out to get him because everyone's either loving him or out to get him. He's not really got anyone like, oh, Andrew Tate, nah.
There's like no one.
He's all right. Yeah, and there's no ones in the middle, are they? They're either out to get him, cancel him, imprison him, fucking rape and pillage him, or they think he's top fucking G. So I can understand why he might be more skeptical than me, less trusting than me. He's probably got off everyone that comes into his life. I've been fucked over a few times.
I was just going to ask you, when are some of the moments that you've been fucked over? Is it in business you're speaking about?
First off, if anyone fucks me over, it's my fault. Because I didn't see it coming. No one can fuck me over if I'm smart, if I'm doing my research, and if I can't be played, I can't be played. So I always take responsibility if I've been fucked over. That being said, there are some people who they were destined to fuck you over. Now, how you spot that is look at how many people before you they fucked over. I haven't done this for 20 years, but anytime I was dating, I would want to know, what is it they say now? Their body count.
Everything.
Yeah. But I'm fucking grilling the shit out of you. I want to know, how many? Who are they?
Why?
What did they do?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, why?
Why did you... How many relationships have you had in the last 5, 10 or 15 years? And if it's more than not many, why did it keep ending? And so, for example, when I interview people, a question I really slide this in gently so they don't know it's a question, but I want to get them talking about their past bosses. Yeah, my boss is this fucking, that fucking, they fucked me over. Yeah. If 6 of their past bosses... they fucking hate, I'm going to be the 7th. That's the consistency. So I can't even remember why we were talking about this, but...
We're asking about people fucking you over.
Yeah, you were. So, no one... it's my fault if someone fucks me. It means I didn't do a good enough job in the research, or I didn't spot what was coming, or I wasn't good enough so that they wouldn't dream of fucking me.
What's been the worst case scenario of someone fucking you over?
I don't really think I've been fucked over. So if you have vexed staff, they might take you to an employment tribunal and lie about how you treated them. But I don't even think we've got into a court. So I have 100 odd staff, probably employed over 1,000 people, and yet we've never been in a tribunal. My first boss fired me and also fired my business partner, the first job I had. And we took him to court and we won. I got wrongful dismissal. Mark got unfair dismissal. And for 2 or 3 years, I thought he really fucked us over there. But 1, we won in court. 2, he gave me a job when no one else would. 3, that was my transforming year.
So who's the real winner?
I'm the winner. So he didn't fuck me. He did me a great big favor.
You fucked him.
So I went from hating how he handled me to realize that he gave me some great lessons. And actually, often your greatest teachers are the people that fuck you the most. So I can think of someone I trained who 15 times to my face said, I will never set up in competition against you, while he was planning to set up in competition against me, and literally ripped off everything we did. But I remember taking him on a speaker boot camp where I was teaching my advanced trainers. And he was telling us 2 stories as part of his speaker training. And one of them was, there was this kid at school that was pissing me off a bit. So I waited and waited and waited. And then when I saw him near the stairs, I pushed him down the stairs and he fell down 3 flights of stairs and he broke his legs and blah, blah, blah. And I just walked off. And he told that story, and we're like, oh, fuck. And then he told a story of how, he wants to own this castle in Scotland. And what he wants in this castle is this big oil painting of him in this big castle in Scotland. Like, if they're not the warning signs that someone's going to fuck me, like, I'll pretend to be your friend, but then I'll fucking push you down the flights of stairs. And what I want is big oil paintings of me in my castles. If that's not a warning that I'm going to get fucked, then I'm the idiot. So that was just him. He told, but like I've trained 20 of our competitors, but then I got fired, left, and set up in competition against the first employer that I had. So I can't tell you. I'm currently getting sued for...
That sounds fun.
So I'm getting sued for a lot of money, right? A lot of money. I can't say how much because it's ongoing.
Did you do it?
I don't think you talk about that.
It's not the BBC, mate. Right? It's like, and my business partner was like, Rob, fuck, we've just been sued for... It's like 100 times more than we've ever been sued before. And he was a bit panicky, and I'm like, all right. He's like, look, I'll speak to the lawyer, whatever. And as soon as I put the phone down, I thought, this is fucking great. I've never been sued for this amount of money before. This is going to be a new learning, a new experience. Okay, so, why are they suing us? What did we do wrong? What could we have done better? Anyway, as it turns out, they have a scamming history. They have a proven track record of doing this. Now, look, we've probably got a 2% chance of losing, but, we need to make sure that we cover all the bases. But even that person, I'm like, you're not fucking me. This is just what you do. If you pay for a hooker and then you're upset that they slept with someone else, they are a hooker. That is what they do. And if you didn't notice it, well, then that's your issue. So how have I been fucked? By plenty of people who set up in competition with us, but my fault. By someone who's suing us for a fucking massive amount of money, but got track record. I can't really think of anything else.
You said that you want to hopefully one day achieve people 2 billion, you said?
Yeah,
3 billion people?
I don't know how many people I can reach, but 1-2 billion, like I have 4 million.
But where does that come from though? Why do you want to give back? Because some people want to make their money, they want to build their kingdom, they want to set their family up for life. But what is it inside of you that wants to educate and help others and give back?
Well, by the way, I want my fair share of payment in achieving this goal. So I remember learning from John DeMartini the art of fair exchange. Fair exchange is where you buy something from me and you feel happy. I sell something to you and I feel happy. You feel grateful that we transacted. You feel like you've got good value in that thing that you bought, and I feel like I made fair profit and it was worth my time to create it and sell it to you. So that's what I'm looking for. Mm-hmm. I'm looking to help billions of people get better financial knowledge, because I think, a lot of people talk about trickle down.
Is it just for the money though?
Economics. I want trickle up. I want to help as many people. Like if I could help people who are in debt or on benefits or struggling financially, if I could help 2 billion up, the world's going to change. And that's a massive, massive mission of mine. I'm specializing in the area of money because you can't be all things to all people. And it's one of my favorite subjects. And it's a subject that is very much misunderstood. And in the UK, our culture is fucked up around money. Like we're almost guilted into shame about being successful and wealthy. And a lot of people won't even talk about it. If I ask a Brit on a podcast, what's your net worth? If you ask an American, they'll fucking add a few millions or billions onto it. It's a different thing. So I want to change the culture in these developing countries or in these British type countries around money. I mean, money for me is important. I like nice things and I like convenience. So
who doesn't?
Yeah, but you sort of jumped in and you were like, is it about the money though? Well, it kind of is, because my driver needs paying. But having a driver means I don't have to drive myself, so I can relax and do some work in the back of the car, and I can be taken door to door. And if I'm getting well known and I need security, I can buy a car that's secure, and I can have security if I need it. I mean, I'm all right at the moment, but Andrew needs it. Mm-hmm. And as we were talking about your breakfast, fine foods are really expensive. Good supplements are really expensive. Do you know that the richest 1% live for 14.1 years longer than the poorest 1%?
I didn't know.
That's an impressive stat. I wonder why. I can actually tell you why.
Why?
We spoke with a financial advisor. He's very, very successful at what he does. And he actually said there's a stat. It was either 60 or 70% of all stress-related problems are because of money in the UK.
So people say money doesn't make you happy. Maybe it doesn't, but it'll help you live 14.1 years longer.
And also a lack of money probably makes you unhappy.
There you go.
Yeah.
Money isn't everything until you don't have any.
No one ever talks about that. The lack of money actually makes you unhappier. I've never even heard that point.
Well,
That's true.
Here's the thing with money and happiness, right? The only way you can work out if money makes you more or less happy is to have every other constant the same in your life.
And increase the money.
Increase or decrease the money. Mm-hmm. So let me ask you and everyone to have an accurate answer to does money make you happy or happier? Take every scenario in your life that's the same and have more or less money. Do you think you'll be more or less happy?
Wow.
I would argue that money is just an amplifier though. So if you have good relationships, you have a purpose, you have drive, you are healthy and you have money, it's just going to amplify those things. But if you're depressed, we spoke with Elliot Wise a couple of weeks ago, and he said there was a guy that was suicidal, making close to $1 million a month, or is it $1 million a week? This guy in the gaming industry, and he was suicidal. He lost his wife, he lost his kids, he had no drive because he was just solely focused on the money.
Yeah,
but he was lacking in these other areas.
Yeah,
So
that doesn't sound like it's a money problem.
Yeah, no, it was a him
Sounds
problem.
like an all other areas problem.
But the money can't cure the rest of the stuff.
Well, it can.
I beg to differ.
It can.
If you had bad relationships with your wife, with your kids, you're unhealthy, and you've got 10 M's in the bank.
Okay, so money can definitely help with your health.
Of course.
So it can.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, all right, your kids. If you are rich and depriving your kids of time with you, that's obviously not good. But you have more time when you're rich, because broke people are spending their time for money. Rich people are spending their money for time.
Yeah.
So it's not, you were right, I believe, when you said it's a tool. So, if you were trying to put this screen up yourself, you'd probably want a good drill. And you probably wouldn't be able to do it with just your fingers. But that drill that could put this screen up, I could use it and drill through your skull and murder you. The drill is the drill. The drill is the tool. I could effectively and gruesomely murder you with a drill, or I could put up a 90-inch screen.
It's a good analogy.
The drill is the drill.
It is
the
a good
money
analogy.
is the tool.
Yeah.
The money is the tool. And I also agree with you, it's an amplifier and an enabler. If you're a drug addict and you get money, where's it going?
More drugs.
If you're a philanthropist and you get money, where's it going?
Mm-hmm.
So yes, you have to fix yourself, but a great way to fix yourself is to learn how to get rich.
I was just going to say, does it not boil down to the individual? Because I think, obviously agreeing with the point that it's an amplifier, but like of the individual, solely that person. Because if the individual that Elliot, who we had on the podcast, was speaking about, he came to Elliot with all of these issues, all of these problems. I know for a fact that if I was doing $1 million a month, I know that I'd have healthy relationships, I'd have a healthy and fit body, my parents would be taken care of. If I had kids, I'd probably be spending good time with my kids. Like all of these other areas of my life would be looked after. So it's like purely and solely down to the individual and how they want to live their life.
It's a tool, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So the analogy you used was the drill's the
amplifier,
drill.
yeah.
You can use it to gruesomely murder somebody and drill through their skull, or you can put the TV up.
Yeah.
But then the other thing is like, who's using the tool?
Yeah.
Is it a fucking is it a serial killer that wants to drill this,
or a handyman?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, if
exactly.
you give a serial killer a drill, he's going to have more
He's
gruesome...
not going to put the TV
murders
up.
with...
You never know. It might be like slow lead into the point of it.
Yeah, so the answer to your question is yes. Everything comes down to the individual, because the individual is in control of the individual's life.
If someone doesn't want that fucking change, they're not going to wake up tomorrow and do the things that them in 5 years or 10 years or 20 years, the life that they want to create, they're not going to wake up and do those things now.
So overall, because the point that we got onto this conversation because it's, can money make you happy? The answer to that question is 100% yes.
Yeah, because I like to use a drill to hang that rather than have to use my fingers.
Yeah.
It's a good, useful tool. As long as I know how to use the tool and I'm not using it
Yeah.
for gruesome murder.
So,
So money can make you happier. But I know what you're saying.
Doesn't guarantee happiness, though, is our point. It doesn't guarantee it.
Well,
Because based on how you use it.
The next question really then is, what is happiness? And is happiness the purpose? Because everyone talks about happiness as the purpose. But, a man's job is not to be happy.
I agree to it.
I think a child's job and a dog's job is to be happy. But a man's job is different. Like, we have to suffer more.
Yeah.
And if you want to raise great, healthy, adjusted kids in a fucked up world that we're in right now, and you want to keep your wife and give her all the great trappings that life has, you have to go out to war. Mm-hmm. You shut the front door. Like when lockdown happened and we're having to let go of all these stuff and we're wondering if we're going to lose tens of millions of business and assets, my wife's not saving me because this is my responsibility. My therapist isn't saving me. I'm saving me. And that can be fucking lonely. And that can be brutal. So as a man, you have to face your pain and face your shame and fucking defeat it and not run away from it.
Enjoy who you become facing that adversity.
Yeah, the hardest things that a man does makes a man stronger. I never used to sort of talk about men because, my audience also is women, but men and women are different. And it's okay to talk about those differences. Women who experience a lot of trauma, it can have a different impact than a man who experiences a lot of trauma. But the greatest happiness I've ever had is milliseconds after the hardest thing I ever did. Like, when do you, working out, you guys both work out, do you feel the most euphoric over your lazy ass workout or over your 5 a.m. and nearly killed yourself workout?
When you put in that fucking shift.
Every single time. The colder I put the ice bath and the longer I'm in it, the better I feel afterwards, but the more I don't want to do it in the moment.
It's the fulfillment.
Yeah. So fulfillment is more powerful than happiness.
The other side of the suffering is where I find the most fulfillment. The suffering in the business. You're in a rut, you get out of it. Doing the getting out of it isn't fucking fun and it's suffering. But when you get out of it, I did that.
Yeah.
We did that.
Yeah, and then your self-worth goes up and your resilience goes up.
Your confidence, your energy, your aura. And
you
then
can handle
what does
bigger
that do?
problems.
It compounds.
So I just want to add one thing to this. So on the one hand, we've talked about you've got to suffer and you've got to face the hard things you have. But on the other hand, earlier I said, put it into context. So us three aren't kissing our wives and children goodbye and going to war. Mm. Our war is commercial. I'd rather have a commercial war than a physical war. So, yeah, it's suffering. Yeah, it's pain. Yeah, you have to do hard decisions. Yeah, your shame gets picked out all the time. But I'm in the most fun war. Mm-hmm. And I'm laughing when people are suing me
and it's by
for masses of millions.
It is also a choice. You don't have to go to war. You can live that very normal blasé. You could also argue that that's a different version of war, being entrapped and working in a 9-to-5 job or whatever. But
there's pain wherever you go.
Exactly.
Because
choose your hard.
Yeah, choose your hard.
Yeah.
And for me, the worst pain is regret. Regret for me is worse than failure.
What if?
Yeah. Yeah, or I look at you guys and go, oh, I could have done that. And you did, and I didn't. And I didn't try, and you did. That would be an insufferable torture.
It's genuinely the main driving force as to why. I think personally, internally, why I strive so hard towards what it is that I want to achieve and what we want to achieve as a collective. It's like I refuse to get to the age 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and get to a point and look back and just think, what if?
Yeah.
What if I tried harder? What if I put in the work? What if I took that risk?
Yeah.
Leave it on the fucking table, man. You owe it to yourself.
Yeah.
We owe it to each other. We owe it to our families now, the families that we will go on to build. Don't be a fucking pussy.
I wanted to make a point as well.
Don't be a fucking pussy.
It's true, though.
I wanted to
Vagina. You can't say pussy in today's world. Don't be a fucking vagina.
We had Sterling on the other day, and he's the first person that said veg. He said, no, genuinely goes, the point that he made was like,
is a man having too much access to
yeah,
veg?
I don't think it's healthy to have unlimited access to veg. And we were just like, what a character, by the way. Do you know Sterling?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Well, I wanted to go back to the point that you were talking about before when we were speaking about fulfillment, etc. If you really dial things back, like as a man, thousands of years ago, I personally think, obviously, I know that you said earlier in the pod that cortisol, etc., like all of these things being raised aren't healthy. I have an argument like cortisol spiked, business, work, whatever it is, like spiking that cortisol through doing hard things is a healthy thing, especially as a man. Because when you dial things back thousands of years ago, going out, hunting, like doing natural human things, facing adversity every single day, these are the only ways that we can replicate it now, to feel that happy self, that animal instinct to be fulfilled and be happy.
Yeah. So I'm not a scientist, and I think there's a science in this.
I'm not either.
That goes above my head. I agree with you that, you know, adrenaline, cortisol, and in a focused, intense stress is very powerful. If one, you hone it into the right thing.
Agreed.
And two, it's not 24/7, 365. Because stress, like, do the research, stress is a fucking killer. But a lot of the stress is self-induced.
I think like a bit of stress.
Yeah.
When you have like a, I don't know, you think of somebody that's losing everything, you think that's at 100%.
Well,
and if they live like that every day, it's going to cost them.
Yeah.
But
It's going to cost them 10 years of their life.
20, 30% of that, I think, is a healthy amount to really become who you need to become. It's just my opinion. Like, to really get the best out of yourself.
I think I want to be careful here because we're talking about cortisol and stress as a motivator. You do not have to be in high stress all the time to be motivated. I am motivated by wanting to help 2 billion people. And I am impatient and hungry about achieving that, but I'm not fucking jacked up on adrenaline and cortisol. And you don't need to be. It's just, it's like your brain is a tool and you can take control of it. Because here's the thing. A lot of people are in high stress imagining problems that aren't even existing. Most of our fear and our pain,
I struggle with that,
is self-imagined. Let's say you know each other really well and you give him a look, that fucking look. For the day or two after, he could be like, something's wrong.
Fuck was that look for?
Yeah. Like, what's
did I do
wrong?
now?
What's going on? And you create, and that's not healthy and that's not productive.
I think
it needs to be productive.
Yeah, I think
honed.
that's the wrong way to look at it. If you look at it from, for instance, any other scenario where you have the stress of doing a hard workout, because you used the workout analogy earlier, yeah, we stay fit. Any other scenario where you felt that type of stress on your body, in your mind, the way that you feel, you taste iron, your lungs feel like they're going to explode. Like any other scenario, that's bad, but during a workout, it's good, right? When you're building a business, if you were laying in bed and you felt the stress of the problems.
It's good, but that high intensity all day, every day is not good.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
But for 60 minutes of the start of the day.
So there you go. So HIIT workouts, high intensity, 60 minutes, 2 to 3 times a week. Supercharged fucking cortisol, adrenaline. I'm going to eat everyone in my path. 60 minutes twice a week, like when someone sues you for multiple millions of pounds. But you cannot live in that all day, every day.
What do you,
can't.
do to switch off? Because you obviously, you've amounted to a lot. I can imagine there's plenty of moving parts. You've got 100+ members of staff to look after. What do you do to switch off?
Yeah, I'm not very good at that. Yeah, so I'm probably not the right guy to interview about that. I don't really switch off that much. I like watching a series. The odd one just started. Mobland.
Any good?
Tom Hardy, Pierce Brosnan. Yeah, it's pretty good. I like a series. I get up between 1 and 5 a.m. I just let my body wake up when it wants to start work, and it's usually between 1 and 5 a.m., which means I'm usually going to bed 9:30 p.m. So from sort of 6 to 9, usually that's my, okay, we'll wind down now. But
maybe I asked the question incorrectly, because you spoke about having that level of stress is not good at all times.
yeah,
So let's say not switch off, because I feel like switching off is, to an extent, you may need it every now and again, but in somebody of your position, I don't think switching off is actually possible.
well, if I love what I do, why do I want to switch off from
Exactly.
it? And you can switch off when you're asleep.
But how do you reduce that stress level, let's say from 100, 90, 80% down to the 20, 30, 40 optimal?
Well, I mean, the way to reduce all stress is to be present and connected in the moment that isn't stress. So if I'm sitting with my daughter reading her a story and I'm in that, I'm not stressed. So presence with my family, feeling like I'm doing it, like at the moment, you know, I'm having to contribute to help my dad because he's not very well. It definitely makes me...
Sorry to hear that.
That's okay, thank you. It makes me feel good to help people. So yeah, being present and connected. Like right now in my mind, I'm like, oh, okay, we're here doing a podcast. Oh, okay, what's our next one? 4:00. Oh, okay, what have I got going on in the day? But until I just did that, for the last 45 minutes, I never thought about any of that because I'm just here talking to you guys about something that is interesting to us. So all switching off, all flow, all presence and all life is experienced in the moment you're in. And like what stress is fear, anxiety, panic about something that is about to happen. Could be tomorrow, could be in an hour, could be in a year. But unless you're physically getting burned alive, in the present moment, there is no stress. And there, in the present moment is where you switch off. Like this for me is switching off, because even though it's work, it's not work. So that's kind of how I look at it.
I like that answer. I want to ask you, on the way up here, we listened to your interview with Mr. Eubank.
Do you know what? The last guys that interviewed me just before you, exactly the same thing.
Oh, no.
No, don't like, is what it is, man. Like that is like...
I saw it everywhere.
That is the cult most viral piece of content on the internet. It doesn't have 100 million views, but everybody talks about the Chris Eubank interview. Everybody. What do you want to ask me?
I mean, as podcasters ourselves, as hosts,
Yeah.
we were like, fuck me.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
And it's very early on.
You should edit and clip in some of his little bits into your episode. Yeah, he was growling at me. He was ignoring me. He was talking over me.
Oh my God.
He stunk of weed.
Did he?
Yeah, all sorts. Yeah, it was bonkers. Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
I love you.
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, I love you too, or something like that. King.
Yeah.
Fuck it. Is he all right? Genuinely.
I don't know. So
I know he's been through some stuff. I get that.
yeah, so when I interviewed him, it wasn't fresh off, but not that long ago his son had died, which obviously is awful. Then don't forget, he's been a professional boxer for more than 2 decades and had, like, if you want to watch real wars in boxing, you watch Eubank Ben.
Yeah.
You watch Eubank Watson. You watch Eubank anyone. You know, it's not Mayweather artfully dodging and never getting hit.
Yeah.
They're fucking taking shots to the head.
Swinging.
Round after round. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And he took 20 years of that. So, trauma, head trauma, stoned, and Eubank, i.e. eccentric. An eccentric guy anyway. Yeah, that was the concoction that I was dealing with.
What was it like as a host, though? Like, were you frustrated? Were you kind of
I
like,
loved it.
This is gold dust?
Yeah, I
let me
fucking
just
loved
let him
it.
talk.
Yeah, just like when he came into the room.
Did
like,
you do it here or what?
No. We went to meet him somewhere. He was 5 hours late, and every 15 minutes he said, "Oh, we're 5 minutes away," and he was 5 hours late. And he like when he
he was up in his joint.
I can't say that. He didn't do anything in front of me, but we could really smell it. The lift opened and he was waddling in, hardly walking with this. Fucking just cramped my leg there. Did legs yesterday. And he had a walking stick, and I felt like he can walk. This feels like an act. I don't think he's a doddery old man. I think he's acting.
Yeah.
And like I walked with him really slow, and he was just like an old man. And then as soon as he got in, he like stood up, sat in the chair, and ignored me for like the first 10 minutes while all the setup was going on. I tried to talk to him and just fucking did this, and just completely blanked me. So I like straight away I'm like, right, fucking hell, we're in a really small room, and I'm like, right, this is it. We are here. Let's go. And I sort of decided that I'm gonna have a ding dong with him, and you know, I'm gonna push back, and so. I think that helped me settle into it. If straight away it had just been really weird and awkward, it might have thrown me for a while. But I'd had 15 minutes in a waiting room with him where he was just ignoring me. Like, imagine sitting down with your girlfriend and talking to her like that, and she just doesn't even acknowledge you, and she just looks forward for 15 straight minutes.
I'll flip the fucking table.
You get the drill out.
Okay, maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe not the drill.
Yeah. So yeah, I am.
What about when the cameras went off? Did you sense a switch? Because we said, look, the version of you that we saw outside is slightly different. You're a little bit more outgoing, and so would I'd imagine him as well. But was there a significant difference once it had finished?
I can't really remember. I think we'd been waiting so long.
You just wanted to get the fuck home.
Yeah, no, I wanted to bathe in it.
Yeah.
Like, I was in it. You know, you get in the ice bath, and after a while, you're not as cold anymore. And I just I didn't want it to end.
I thought you handled it really well. By the way,
thank you.
Yeah.
I want to still be interviewing him now. You know, I think we've got a round 2 lined up.
No way.
Yeah, I do. And thank you. I really. Like, I remember Andrew Tate saying to me, "You're not a man until your dad's died," and I remember feeling a bit like triggered by that because
it's quite sad.
It's sad, but it's also quite projecty in a way because, like, I went and told my wife that, and she was like, "No, you are a man," and you know, so I felt like, am I really a man? And in the sense that he's judging, what Andrew really meant was, I wasn't a real man until my dad died, as in him. Mm-hmm. But you know how Andrew communicates. But it really got me to think. And like, I think I understand a bit because my dad probably, 10 days ago, it looked like it was the end. And it now looks like it's not, maybe. And I went there in my mind, and I think I could relate to it. As a podcaster, I wasn't a real interviewer until I'd interviewed Chris Eubank. Like, I've gone to a place not many other interviewers have gone, and I've like it was.
We had to get a
I want more shit like that.
I want to ask you, what in your eyes, what does a man have to go through to truly become a man?
Fucking hell! I mean, I think a man can protect his family. There are different ways to do that. You don't have to be a violent fighter to do that. You can be a brilliant salesperson and protect them financially. You can be a brilliant negotiator and talk out of difficult situations. You can be a really good accumulator of wealth and build assets for them in the future. So, but I definitely think, like, you know, my kids go to private school. My dad's ill at the moment. I protect my family, and I have done for 20 years, and I couldn't before that. Andrew's style is through, you know, being able to be violent because he believes the world is very violent, but he's been brought up in a violent world. Yeah. And so, number one, be able to protect your family, I think. Number two is to be able to do hard things and achieve a level of outward success in your pursuit. If you're good to great at chess, good to great at art, good to great at fighting, whatever you pursue that you struggle through, you get to some level of mastery. The next thing I would say is to be able to handle yourself in situations. And that could be...
Read the room.
Yeah, it could be a violent threat, but it could also be how you talk to waiters. It could be how you treat other people's kids. You know, all that kind of stuff. I actually think kindness is a huge part of being 100%. A man. And actually, if you were to get me to... A real man is kind when they're getting fucked left, right, and centre. Everyone's screwing you and fucking you, and you're shielding other people from it, and you're still being kind and good to others. And has a dick. You know, like, because there's man or woman.
Really.
There's man and woman. Like,
the fact that we even have to state that is fucked anyway, but I'm happy you said it.
Yeah.
And I'm really happy at the point that you made...
Be kind when others are being cruel.
Yeah. The point you made previously is it's the first time I've ever heard somebody, when we've asked that question and we've had a conversation like this, you're the first person to say, be kind, how you treat the waiter, how you treat other people's kids. That's something that both of us pride ourselves on, how we interact in those situations. Yeah. And I think it's so important.
It is. And by the way, anything is easy when it's easy. So we can all be nice when life is good.
Of course.
But when you've got lawsuits and everyone trying to fuck you, then it's harder. Mm-hmm. But that's when, like, why does that make you a man? Because it means you are strong.
Yeah.
And it means, you know that, the film The 300. Mm-hmm. Have you seen that? And these fucking strong 300 people. I Googled.
They're our ancestors.
They right. Well, they defeated tens of thousands of men, and they're like, right, in formation, and they're creating this triangle with their shields, and they are standing their ground with strength. And by the way, there's loads of ways to do that. Like, you're getting talked to by a piece of shit, like a piece of shit manager you've got, and you don't talk to them back like a piece of shit. Mm-hmm. That's being a man. It's not just about fucking having £100 million and having a Bugatti and, you know, being able to fight and being ripped and having 100 chicks. You know, that's comic book, man. That person still has to be kind and still has to protect.
I respect that. We normally round off the podcast by asking the guest what they would say and recommend to our audience. I want to flip that slightly. You have a significantly more successful podcast than us. You've done more repetitions than us for sure. But what are a couple of things that we can do to one day achieve the things that you have in the podcasting space?
Well, be clear on what you want for your podcast and what your goal and vision is for your podcast. You definitely shouldn't compare yourself to me. I mean, I would pay £100 million. I'd give it to you now if I got your youth. How old are you?
24.
Right. How old are you?
23.
Right. So I would pay £100 million today if I could.
Can we get a contract?
Yeah. But you've got to be 46 and you've got to be being sued for fucking millions. Yeah. So you pulled your hand out a bit quick there.
Fucking LH.
So number one, have your own clarity of mission and vision. Number two, don't compare yourself to anyone else other than to be inspired.
Mm-hmm. Comparison is the thief of joy.
It is, but it's also motivating.
I agree.
Yeah. So, you know, if you're shooting to, you know, get Andrew Tate, or you're shooting to have a big podcast,
we have to look at the top dogs.
You have to have a goal. And then the third thing I would say is just be fucking relentless. Like, if you've asked 30 guests this week to be on a show, ask 60 next week, ask 90 the week after, ask 150 the week after that, and love rejection. Like, We've
had to learn to love rejection, haven't we, H?
Love
Not
it.
just in the podcast, but
in like,
everything.
Really learn to love it.
Yeah.
You know, love going down the snakes.
The more no's you get, the closer you are to your yes, right?
You are. And I had Jordan Peterson. I had Jordan Peterson on my show 7 years ago. And we got him before he was massive, but he was big. And we had a good discussion, but our time was cut short. And, you know, we're much bigger now, and you'd expect you get around to. And I just keep getting a no from them. Not the right time. No. I haven't got a reason why. But I've been doing this fucking 10 years. I've done 1,300 episodes. I've already fucking interviewed him. I've already, you know, earned my stripes. Don't seem to be able to get around to. But I'm enjoying the rejection every 3 months. I mean, it's probably not even getting to him, but I'm enjoying it, you know, because it's just one step closer, isn't it? The rejections I love the most are handwritten no's. So David Attenborough has written to me 3 times to say no to come on my podcast.
I love that.
And the way he writes is all like flowy and English and polite and
unfortunately,
yeah. And
I won't be able to make it this time.
Don't quit the podcast. Okay. You're in the right.
I was just about to ask you, what do you think of my impression?
No. Yeah. So here's a little hack though. Start writing people letters.
I like that. Feels personal, doesn't it?
It feels like it's going to be hard for them to say no if you've written them a letter. Write 10 letters a week each.
Where do we find
with your own hands?
Anyone got a pen and paper? I'll leave something for Tate.
Yeah. Oh, and you'll want me to go and deliver it, won't you? Yeah. All right then.
What's the best bit of business advice that you could give to anybody? Us, sat here, anybody listening at home?
Get yourself around people who are successful in business. The end. Getting rich is hard. That's why most people aren't rich. But actually, it's simple, even though it's not easy. Of the million ways people will tell you to get rich, the only way to get rich is to get around rich people and learn what they know. And if you do that, you don't have to make all the mistakes and have all the failings yourself, because they will guide and navigate you through the things that worked for them. And anytime something happens that gets in your way, like you've got a big legal case or you've got some shit kicking off that you've never dealt with, if you're around people who are rich, you can just call them up and say, hey, look, I've just been sued for this ridiculous amount of money. It seems like a joke, but we need to take it seriously. Has it ever happened to you? Yeah. Which lawyer did you use? This one. What did you do? This. Done. And like, we're so busy trying to figure everything out on our own when someone's already been there and done it. But as English people, you know, did you say you've got roots outside of England?
We're from Cyprus.
Okay, fine. So you're probably even better positioned because you probably know the flaws and failings in British culture because you can observe it at a distance. We're terrible at asking for help. We're too fucking polite. We don't want to talk about money. We don't want people to think we're struggling and failing. We suffer all on our own. We try and figure everything out ourselves. And we're really fucking bad at all of that. Whereas you just go, right, you know, who's the richest person that I can get in touch with and what can they teach me? That's what you do. That's the best business advice I've got. Because everything else you want to know about business comes from that.
Love it.
Rob Moore, ladies and gentlemen.
Boom.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having us.
All right.
Thank you, all of you guys. If you're on Spotify, make sure to drop us a follow and leave us a rating. And if you're on YouTube, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Turn the bell notification on so you get notified every time we release a podcast. And we'll see you all next week.
Catch us later, guys.
And if you're on the internet, join my money.school.
Vamos. Peace.